All right, welcome to the B Block Podcast. I appreciate everyone who is joining me right now. Wherever you're at, make sure you check us out on the other platforms. That means if you're listening on audio only, I want to invite you over to our YouTube page, the B Block Podcast YouTube page. And if you're watching on YouTube, want to just at least let you know that there is an audio only option, just in case you get tired of looking at my beautiful face for whatever reason, or if you just prefer to have the audio only platform up, riding in the car, whatever the case may be. All of those options are available to you. And I appreciate everybody for being here. Y'all know what we're here for, man. Y'all know what we're here for. The Texans open the season against the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles or Inglewood or wherever the hell SoFi Stadium's at. And it did not give what it was supposed to give. It was not giving what it was supposed to give. If that's the proper way to put it, I think that's what the young people are saying these days. It wasn't giving. It didn't give. Certainly didn't give Super Bowl contender. It didn't give AFC Championship contender, and it didn't even really give. If we're just being honest about it, it didn't give AFC South champion contender. For the third straight year, winning their third straight AFC title, which I think a lot of us, certainly most Texans fans, and I can't pick anybody in the media, especially not anybody that covers the team closely, that thinks that they're not going to win this division, that they're not going to go to the playoffs, and that they're not going to be a similar team, at least a similar team to what they've been in the past. Okay. But on that front, right? On that front, I've got some good news and I got some bad news for you. The good news is they look about the same. The Texans look about the same. A team with some potential, with some young talent, with one of the better defensive minds at head coach, a team that's established a culture that is different from what they had been in previous years. But now previous years are the first 2 years under the D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud era, right? But they look to me, and I've been saying this wherever I got the opportunity, they look to me to be about the same. Sub some pieces here and there. I know they got a different offensive coordinator. They got a new offensive line coach. They shuffled the offensive line. They brought in different running backs. They remade the wide receiver room. There are certainly on the offensive side of the ball, certainly elements of this team that look different. But overall, the net effect, they look about the same. That's the good news. The bad news is they look the same. So the good news is the bad news. They look the same, man. And I think that for so many people who were rooting for this team and people who are waiting on this team to take the next step or see what the next step is going to be for this team, that being the same, being what they were 2 years ago, pleasant surprise, took the league by storm, first year head coach, rookie quarterback, had a historic rookie season. There was nothing wrong with being what they were last year or what they were 2 years ago. I would even backdoor that and say there was nothing wrong with them being what they were last year. It takes a while to get from here to there. You don't just pop up and arrive and just become the Super Bowl contender. You got to go through some growing pains. Go ask the Buffalo Bills about that. Go ask the Baltimore Ravens about that, who, by the way, still have not won a Super Bowl, still have not even been to the Super Bowl with their MVP caliber quarterbacks. It does not happen overnight. It can happen more quickly, I think, in the NFL than in other leagues, but it certainly does not happen overnight. I think what you are wanting to see over time, especially with how young their core is, you were wanting to see an improvement from year one to year two. And I don't feel like you saw that. A lot of people looked at it as a step back. For what it's worth, they were basically the same team. 10-win team, division champion, won their home playoff game in the first round and then lost to like a real contender in the second round. Baltimore the first year, Kansas City the year after that. I mean, You can ask for more, you can want more. I'm not really sure if it's fair or realistic, I should say. I think it's maybe fair because you want to always expect the most of your team, but I'm not sure it's realistic to expect more of this team. But I do think it's fair to expect them to gradually get better over time. And I can't point to this team and say it's better than last year's team. I can't point to this team and say it's better than the team from 2 seasons ago. Now, that being said, they ain't played but one game. Okay. They ain't played but one game. And it's very easy immediately after the game, if the game is on Sunday, for about a Sunday night to be feeling like the sky is falling if your team plays poorly, or to feel like the sky is the limit if your team plays well and maybe even outplays their expectations. They did the other thing. They did not play well, they played poorly. So the sky is falling on Sunday night. A reaction Monday, which is when we're doing this, same thing, maybe even more so when you get a chance to kind of think about it all and dissect it all. Sky's falling. Easy to do that. But it is like worth pointing out that this was just the one game. But all we got is the one game. I think that goes both ways, right? Like not overreacting, but I don't think it's fair to not react at all and to just say, hey, everything's gonna be okay just because it was one game. No, what does this one game tell you about your football team? What did you learn from this one game? Honestly, going against a very comparable opponent in terms of how the team is built and what it seems like the ceiling on the team could be, right? And like, I don't think anybody's picking the Rams to win the Super Bowl, but most people think the Rams could probably win 10 games again and go to the playoffs and win a playoff game and all of that. Like, these are similarly situated teams in different conferences. And one, certainly in the second half, just looked a lot better to me than the other. I was looking at this like, y'all realize that the Texans and the Rams ran the same amount of plays, both had 57 plays, both had 18 touchdowns. Or I'm sorry, 18 touchdowns. That would have been wild, an 18 touchdown game. Both had 18 first downs, ran 57 plays. And the Texans, to their credit, maybe not to their credit, had the ball for a few minutes longer. Same amount of plays, same amount of production in terms of first downs, and had the ball a little bit longer. But their long drives, when they did result in points, which was only in the first half, resulted in field goals. And the few times, the two times that the Rams were able to score, they resulted in touchdowns. And y'all know the math. Two touchdowns is more than three field goals. There's the difference in the game. Of course, that's not to say anything of the turnovers that help swing the game one way or another. Okay. And we had those. The Daria Gumbawale fumble on the Texan side. And then to their credit, later in the game, you had the or also late in the game, I should say, you had Aziz Al-Shair forcing a fumble on the Rams. So, so you had that. The interception, just as a sidebar, as a side note, if y'all follow me on Twitter, y'all know I did not understand that. I saw some people who did, who thought old buddy had control of the ball. I didn't see it. I don't know. I am even more confused by that one than I am the Dez catch. I've always said that Dez Bryant caught it. A lot of people disagree with that. I thought he caught it. If Dez Bryant didn't catch that ball, this young man certainly did not catch this interception. They had a chance to look at it. They looked at it and said that it was an interception. I could just wholeheartedly and completely disagree, but I'm also willing to acknowledge that I just don't know what the hell a catch or a non-catch, what the ground got to do with a catch. I don't get it. I don't get it because it's not consistent. There is some subjectivity to it, and so I don't think it's clear cut from that end either. But I'll digress. That just was what it was. But this came down to the Texans having a lot of the similar problems. The Texans having similar problems that they've had in years past, specifically last year. When you're talking about the offensive line not being able to pass protect, when you talk about CJ Stroud, his reaction to the pass protection, like getting a little skittish and at times even making some of the bad situations worse by the way he would move around the pocket, or better put, how he would move backward in the pocket. Like just didn't make any sense. And then the thing that really bothers me, especially for a team that is led by a head coach that I view to be disciplined and buttoned up, put together. Um, D'Amico Ryan's to me a D'Amico Ryan's team. Never mind the fact that he's a defensive coach and these issues are on offense. I get that dynamic, but a D'Amico Ryan's led team. It offends me a little bit that a D'Amico Ryan's led team could even be perceived as undisciplined, much less that actually be their reality. And here they are with penalties. I mean, the first damn drive, man. The first drive, you've got penalties. You've got eventually you had, I can't remember if that was the first drive or the next one where you ended up having the where you had the delay of game, and again, you get down to it, 11 penalties for 80 yards versus 7 penalties for 60 yards for them. Like that is just it's too on brand to be the brand, if that makes sense. Like is to me, a D'Amico Ryan's led team, their brand of football should be everything that he talks about, but then also this whole discipline thing, this whole not beating ourselves, not shooting ourselves in the foot. You can't be out there turning it over, giving up sacks, and racking up the penalties. They did all of those things. They did all of those things. CJ Stroud sacked 3 times for 37 yards. Okay. As I just mentioned, 11 penalties, a fumble, and an interception. Just to be frank about it, they're not good enough to do those sort of things. And also, good teams just do not live that way. I'm not saying a good team never turns over the ball, a good team never gives up a sack, a good team never has penalties. But this is not supposed to be the brand. This is not supposed to be a thing that they do. And then we look up and we just go, whether we're shrugging our shoulders or shaking our head or whatever the reaction is, there's a consensus of same old Texans. Just what the Texans be doing. They be giving up sacks. They be getting penalties. And when it really gets bad, they'll turn the ball over. That was kind of a hallmark of CJ Stroud's rookie years, that he didn't turn the ball over as much, and that simply wanted to get the ball more. Well, I feel like the defense has improved, but to what end? And what good is that? What does that do for you if your offense on brand can't score points in the second half? If your offense seemingly and feeling like on brand can't score touchdowns. That was what plagued this offense in this game. Now, I mentioned it's just one game, but usually you take the energy and the feeling of one week and carry it over into the next, where I just saw this. And so what might I see when this time comes? Right. And we'll do that after the next game, but we'll just have more games to compare it to. Well, what have they done over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, however long it's been? Okay. Well, Texans did this, right? And this being go out there and just largely underwhelm. Okay. They had to be the most underwhelming team. Let's see, probably maybe the Lions. Who is the more underwhelming team out of the teams that we actually expect to be good? Because if you're expecting the Dolphins to be good, then they would fall along those lines. But I don't know how many people are talking about them like that. People are talking like Mike McDaniel should be on the hot seat. So I don't know if they count here. The Lions, I think, count. Who, interestingly enough, the Texans did not score touchdowns against, did not do anything against in the second half when they played them last year on that Thursday Night Football. They were arguably the most disappointing team of teams that have expectations, that have actual Super Bowl aspirations or AFC Championship game aspirations. Like that's tough. That's tough. And then you look at who they're opening their or who their home opener is against. Who do they play on their home opener? And that's the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tampa Bay Buccaneers went out there and did the exact opposite. You had people talking about even the team that they beat in defeat. People talking about how good Michael Penix looked, or that at the very least, if he didn't look good, he certainly looked promising for a second-year guy. I only got to watch a little bit of that game, but Baker Mayfield was out there doing Baker Mayfield things. Tampa's out there. Emeka Ibuka, welcome to the league. But in the good, usually when they say welcome to the league, they're talking about it in a negative way, like with Ariante Ursary having the ping pong from left tackle to right tackle. We're going to get to that in a second. Usually the welcome to the league moment is not a positive moment. Emeka Ibuka's welcome to the league moment was fantastic. Game-winning touchdown. Or no, not the game-winning touchdown. But did he have the game-winning touchdown? Yeah, that's right. But either way, 2 touchdowns in his debut. Game-winning touchdown, 2 touchdowns on his debut. Baker Mayfield out there surgical. Didn't have a high output in yards, but I mean, passer rating was 99, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, they went out there and did their thing based off of how the Bucks played against the Falcons in week 1 and how the Texans played against the Rams in week 1. And I do think the Rams are a better and tougher opponent than the Falcons are. So you can grade on that curve if you want. But just based off of how they played. And again, I didn't get to watch the entire Bucks Falcons game. I was catching it on Red Zone. But I'm obviously going to go and watch that game before Monday night comes and get a better sense for what that team really is and really looks like. But it didn't take me very long, and it shouldn't take me very long to realize that they seem better prepared to play their season opener, and like they're better prepared to fight against contenders. They didn't play a contender. They played the Falcons. I get it. But they look better prepared to fight against contenders than the Texans do. The Texans running the ball, okay, but still not going to be this super dynamic run game if they're not going to be the physical football team that they've preached that they were going to be, in the offseason. I understand Jake Andrews went down with an ankle injury, had to use a cart to get off the field. I understand Ed Ingram wasn't able to play because of a abdominal injury. I understand that Cam Robinson had to go out there and knock some rust off after not really running with the ones for some time and also having dealt with an injury himself. But this is what they came up with as their offensive line. Their stated goal was to be more physical and sort of just establish that early on. They did not do that. And then, of course, the big thing, well, both of these were big because Joe Mixon had a Pro Bowl year making something out of nothing all the damn time. It wasn't because the run blocking was just so damn great. It wasn't. It was horrible. And, of course, we all know about the pass protection issues with C.J. Stroud, them picking him up off his tail all the time. Sacked as much as almost any quarterback in the league last year, and way, way, way more than his rookie year. They were supposed to be fixing that. They look about the same. They don't look like they have fixed that. and they are not a serious outfit against, let's say, the Chiefs, who didn't look great against the Chargers, but certainly looked better than that against, say, the Bills or the Ravens, who gave us one of the all-time great season openers, I feel like, that at least that I've ever seen on that Sunday night game. What a game. But also, what a sobering moment when you take it all into account, what the Texans look like and what those teams look like. The levels to this shit. The levels, the difference between here and there feels significant. Felt significant, at least in week one, albeit just week one. We're reacting, not overreacting, but we are allowed to react and to have our opinions and to see things differently. I know a lot of people are like, oh man, it's just one game. Oh man, it wasn't that bad. Oh man, wait until they get whole again. And Christian Kirk is back and Ed Ingram is back and the actual offensive line that they were supposed to put out there is back. And Joe Mixon eventually might even come back, but who knows, because they won't tell you what exactly the situation is. But man, don't worry, that was just one game. They're going to be all right. Fine. I'm not here to kill your optimism. I'm not here to kill your vibe, but I'm also not here to join in on this thing. You're on your own when it comes to me and you about the optimism based off of what we saw in this game. For as much credit as I gave them for what I saw in bits and pieces, going back to the Panthers preseason game and the Lions preseason game, I thought based off of those games that I was a little bit too hard on how they looked in practice, particularly the run game, and that I needed to give them a little bit more grace, be a little bit more patient, and see this thing through and see what it actually looks like in game action against a real opponent. Well, it turns out the Panthers, I'm sure we figured, are not a real opponent. The Lions might not be as real of an opponent as they have been in recent years and as we thought they were. I know they got all of their defensive players back that got hurt. The reason why they were able to make their excuse for the implosion at the end of last season or toward the end of last season. But that might not be, they might not be the it girl no more. It might be Green Bay. It could be Chicago. Now, I'm not saying that it is, but could be. I don't think it's Minnesota, but it's probably Green Bay. We'll find out about Minnesota and Chicago Monday night. Okay, but certainly looks like it could be Green Bay over Detroit, and the Panthers are just they're the Panthers. They got beat by the Jaguars. By the way, Jaguars and Colts both won, and well, the Jaguars are playing the Panthers, so I'm going to kind of wipe my hands with that. But I've been saying that the Jaguars are the biggest threat in the division. And then the Colts and Titans, both a bit of a wild card to me going into the season because I just wasn't sure with their QB change exactly what it was going to look like. The Colts is basically worst case scenario for the Texans because it looked like Shane Steichen might be able to figure things out with Daniel Jones. And watch out if they do. Watch out if that parent does figure it out. 22-29, a tutty. I know some people. I think maybe it's Sean Pendergast who hates Tutty. I'm sorry, Sean. I doubt Sean listens to this podcast, but if this gets to Sean, y'all tell him I apologize for saying Tutty. I don't have as much of a problem with the slang as Sean clearly does. But a touchdown, 272 yards passing for Daniel Jones in his debut with the Colts. They certainly looked more ready. Now they were playing the Dolphins, who don't feel like a serious outfit. But they, at least themselves, look like they came out ready and prepared. Texans did not. Last thing I'm going to get to before I get out of here, because I do have several things to do on a Reaction Monday on top of giving y'all this podcast here, a labor of love. The offensive line shuffle, I want to preface this by saying I do not think that the offensive line shuffle lost in the game. I do not think that the offensive line shuffle was the difference between the Texans winning and the Texans losing. I just don't believe that. I don't think that. I got a tough time. I also don't think that not having Christian Kirk out there was the difference between the Texans winning and losing the game. I don't feel like you can watch what you watched and just say, you know what? They were a Christian Kirk and an Ed Ingram away. They were a Christian Kirk and an Ed Ingram away from winning that game. Now, Christian Kirk certainly able and capable of scoring a touchdown, but so is Nico Collins, and they only targeted him. What did he get? 5 targets? Did Nico Collins even get that many targets? I struggle to commit stats to memory when I'm this frustrated from a game, but I know I looked up and he only had 4 at one point. I think he might have finished the game with 5. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong, but he had certainly had no more than 5 targets on 20 something to 30 routes or so. Was out there running routes, not getting targeted. Now I have not watched any kind of all 22 to see if there was any kind of like special way that they defended him. I'm not going to try to give you that type of analysis, but I do know that if it's Nico Collins, he should be getting the ball thrown his direction more than 5 times in a game, especially if he's healthy and is playing the whole game. Y'all saw that catch that D-Hop had in the Ravens Bills game where Buddy is draped all over him, but it doesn't matter because D-Hop has the hand just like the size of this monitor. And so he's just going to reach out and touch it and grab it and pull it in and hold on to it, despite the fact that it's 2 dudes draped over him. I'm not saying that Nico has DeAndre Hopkins type of hands, but he is that type of player, that type of difference maker, that type of like physically imposing type of player that you could, especially when the offense is sputtering the way that it was, you can throw the ball to him when he's covered. I do think that. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any really excuses. I probably should go look at the all 22 or at least talk to somebody who has looked at it before I make that declaration, before I make that definitive statement that I don't want to hear it. But right now, as we sit right here, I ain't scared to tell you, man, I don't want to hear it. Nothing about how, for whatever reason, they couldn't get the ball to Nico Collins. So to the original point or to the earlier point I was trying to make, I'm not blaming the offensive line shuffle or the lack of a Christian Kirk and Braxton Berrios as the reason for why they lost this game or as the difference in them winning and losing the game. They're like it would have won in the game. That being said, not a fan at all of the shuffle. Not a fan at all. Don't believe in this nonsense that they're trying to tell y'all or that they're trying to sell y'all about getting the best 5 on the field, getting the best 5 offensive linemen on the field. I respect it as a concept. It's like I believe in it as a concept, but I don't actually believe in the notion, if that makes sense. So like as a concept, hey, we want our best 5 offensive linemen on the field. And so if that means we got to move guys around, if the substitution patterns look a little bit different and unconventional to the untrained eye, to the outside spectator, fine. We trying to get our best 5 out there. I can respect it as a concept. What I don't believe in and what I'm not buying is the actual notion that their shuffling of the guys is their best 5. I was listening to In the Loop, my guys, and y'all will hear me on In the Loop on Friday, 11 to noon. Check us out, Sports Radio 610. Reginald Atatula, John Lopez, Figgy Fig, my guy. But Reggie seems to be sold on this idea that Cam Robinson, that left tackle, is better than Drew Scruggs at right guard, and that the way that the Texans view their best 5 is actually what the best 5 looks like. I am not sold on that. And that's simply because all of these guys are replacement level guys. You're not talking about you're just not talking about good enough players to be selling me on, hey, it's better to move in this guy over that guy and move this guy around. And no, to me, you're best at what you practice at. You're best at a particular position. They like positional flex. To me, they like positional flex to a fault. to their detriment. The whole Titus Howard can play every position except center thing, which they have literally done now. Since he was drafted in, what was it, 2019, he has literally played now every position except center. And he is so clearly a right tackle that it doesn't even make any sense. Serviceable, yeah, capable of playing those other positions, sure. But dude's a right tackle. Leave him at right tackle. Ariante Ursery, the dude that they just drafted in the second round, the rookie left tackle, is a left tackle. Now, I know he's got that dog in him and says, I'll play right tackle, left tackle, whatever you need me to do. He's got the willingness and probably does actually have the ability to play right tackle. But he's a left tackle. Ariante Ursery, a left tackle. Titus Howard, a right tackle. Now, if you want to get into positional flex, it looks like Juice Scruggs is the one who actually can play center and guard and center. Nick Casario's talked about this out of their interior offensive linemen. He's probably the one with the most positional flex out of the ones that play center. Probably the one with the most positional flex. Right? They think Titus Howard is a guard, so clearly they got a guard that can play tackle, or a tackle that can play guard, however you want to look at that. But Juice Scruggs is the one interior offensive lineman with the most positional flex. Jared Patterson plays both as well, but it looks like they like Patterson more so at center and Scruggs at, third string center, and apparently Juice Scruggs, I just thought about it like this. He's their third string center and guard, because they don't even go to him when a guard goes out. They bump in Titus Howard from tackle to guard. So last time I checked the tackle positions, they get paid more, at least. Tackles get paid more. Y'all do with that what you will, whether that's a more valuable position or not. I don't want to get into the football legalese of it all. Like, every position is important and the offensive line got to play on the string. I get all of that. But the man is a tackle, and you're going to bump him into guard in the name of getting your best five out there because you don't think that the next guard up can play? What's he on the team for? And I'm not saying to cut Juice Scruggs. I was actually advocating for him to be in the game. And that's not to say that I'm overly impressed with his game, but he is somebody that actually plays guard. The criticism going into that playoff game last year when Shaq Mason came back and played against the Chiefs was, why wouldn't they just leave Juice Scruggs out there instead of a Shaq Mason who had been injured, and even before he was injured and missing time, was not good, one of the worst guards in the league at the time. I don't buy it. You can tell it to me and it can look good on paper and it can sound good. Best five. That sounds amazing. They ain't got no damn best five. They don't have a best five. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. They don't have a best five. Stop it. Stop lying to me. You don't have a best five. The best thing for whatever five you have out there is for them to be playing the positions that they actually play, unless it absolutely necessitates it. Like there could be a reason. Maybe you're just so unhealthy that you got to shuffle things around. But you were just talking about one player going down in Ed Ingram originally. I know throughout the game, you ended up getting, like I mentioned earlier, Jake Andrews gets hurt. Cam Robinson has to leave the game for a moment. They did a lot of shuffling. But the original shuffle of bumping Titus inside, moving Ariante from one side to another, bringing in Cam Robinson, I'm not buying that that's their best five. Not buying it. Just because Cam Robinson make $12 million, $14 million, and you know his name a little bit better than Juice Scruggs, you're a little bit more accomplished than Juice Scruggs, I ain't got nothing in me to say that Cam Robinson is a better tackle than Juice Scruggs is a guard. Man just lost his job to a rookie. Is in a contract year, just lost his job to a rookie. And has just, honestly, has been solid, been okay, has not been a great player throughout his career. Like, what are we doing? Well, Cam Robinson's a better. Says what? Says who? How? And then we saw how that played out. After getting penalties, after getting both of the tackles out there getting worked. I'm not saying Juice Scruggs is the answer. I'm saying that's just a more sensible solution to the problem. And who's to say you can't pivot off of that if it's not working? But that's a more sensible solution as opposed to moving two other guys that are already in place, that are already set in place. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I don't think it was the difference between winning and losing the game, but just on the surface, on the face of it, I did not like it. I hope that I'm gonna say I hope that they go away from it. They're not gonna go away from it, certainly because I don't not because I don't like it. Like that's not gonna be the reason. But I hope they saw what the rest of us saw. And that's that wasn't the answer. That wasn't the answer. I could go on and on about this, but I truly do not have the amount of time that I wish I did. Didn't like what I saw. Hoping that I see a lot better from these cats going forward. I need to, if like this season is going to be anything close to what we hoped it would be, to what we thought it could be. If I'm being real, I've been saying they feel kind of the same. The Texans feel kind of like the same old Texans. I ain't talking about the old Texans, the pitiful ass Texans. I'm talking about the ones that we've seen over the last 2 years. Okay. And like I opened the show, that's both the good news and the bad news. I'll catch y'all next time. Make sure you are subscribed to the B Block Podcast, wherever it is you get your podcast, as well as the YouTube page. Also, tell a friend, leave a review, do all of that, support the show. Until next time, y'all be good.